We're planting spring cabbages today on pots and trowels, and that's brought to you with the support of King Seeds and Cobra Garden. Well, here we are now, end of October, certainly feeling very autumnal now. The colours on the trees are turning, the leaves are falling. We've had some frost, so autumn is well and truly with us, but still loads of things we can be doing in the garden, especially the veg garden. We've got harvesting to do, we've got some clearing to do, but I've still got a little bit of planting to do. And what I'm going to do today is to get in my spring cabbage plants. Now, spring cabbage, although it is autumn, they're spring cabbages because that's when they will be ready to eat. And these we grew from seed. So the seed is normally sown late August, early September, with a view to planting out mid to late October. So spot on, and believe it or not, the soil has still got some warmth in there. I did actually put the thermometer in there yesterday, and it's about 6 or 7 degrees, so that will encourage some good strong root growth. And that's what they've done. We grew them in these 9cm pots, as you can see, and they're making a good root, so that will continue. They will sit there then over the winter, and then come the spring, put on that flush of growth, and we can enjoy them in the spring. This is a variety called April, which is a really good tried and tested one, which tells us the time of the year that we can be harvesting it and enjoying it from the garden. And it is delicious to get these lovely greens in the spring. Bit too late to sow the seed, but very often at this time of the year, garden centres will have spring cabbage plants. So if you fancy growing a few, get them in. Ground preparation is very easy. This is going to be the brassica bed next year as part of my rotation. It was onions this year. So we had onions growing here and garlic this summer. And all I've done really is just rake it over, got rid of any weeds, rake it over. Ideally, for brassicas, we need firmish soil anyway. We don't want it to be too light and fluffy. And then we can plant them out. So I'm using my planting board here, just makes life easier. You can put a string line down. You don't need to use anything really, I suppose. And then the plan is to space them about a foot apart, so not too far, because they're a pointy cabbage rather than a large, wide spreading cabbage. So I'm just going to space them out along there like that. So there we can get our lovely spring cabbages, and you could squeeze them a little tighter, but that just gives them room to make that lovely sort of heart shape. And then when we plant them, we want to plant them up to the first leaf, otherwise they're going to flop around. So I'm going to plant them just a little bit deeper than they were in the pot. So it's just a case of taking out a hole with the trowel. If they're in smaller plugs, then obviously you don't need to dig such a big hole. So nice and moist, pop that in, hold it into place, backfill round it, and then the important thing is give it a good firm. We want that to be standing upright on its own when we've planted it. So I'm just going to get these in, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with them. Put the label in there first. Right, so there we go. 6 planted there in the row, all tucked in nicely. Now, what I'm not going to do is water these in, because there's plenty of moisture in this soil. We've had some rain this week, and the pots they were growing in, the compost was nice and moist as well. But if your soil is dry, then I would give them a drink in just to settle them, and that's usually it. They don't need any more than that initial watering, because we're going to get rain obviously then over the autumn and the winter months. So the only thing I am going to do is to protect them a little bit, because these are really tasty to pigeons, and they will come down here and devour them overnight. So if you've got some netting to put over them, that's great, or even even fleece, just to help them establish. Butterflies aren't a problem obviously at this time of the year, they've all gone. It is the birds that will be the problem. What I'm going to use are these cloches, and these will just give them that little bit of protection, not only from the birds, but just to stop them blowing around until they've settled in. I won't leave them on necessarily all winter, it's just to get them established, and then I'll take them off and put some netting over them probably through the winter. But just for now, because they've been planted out and I want them to get their roots down, I'm just going to put these cloches on. But if you haven't got cloches, don't worry. As I say, a bit of netting or fleece to keep the birds off is more than adequate. And then they're just going to sit there over the winter. As I mentioned, they don't make a lot of growth, a little bit, but it's the root that's going to be growing in the ground, and that root that establishes is important for next spring to get them growing. So fingers crossed, next April we can look forward to some really tasty fresh greens from the garden. Thank you for watching Pots and Trowels. And remember, all our gardening videos and our weekly gardening podcasts can be found on YouTube, where of course you can subscribe for free. Next week, something a little bit different. We're going tropical, so join us then. Bye.